Welcome back to another episode of Chat GRC on the Blue-Lusional podcast, where myself, Devin, and Casey, we interview a grassroots candidate. This week, we have a friend of the show. Please introduce yourself.
Hey y'all, I'm Megan Wingfield and I'm running for Congress in Kentucky's 2nd District.
Yay! This has been a long time coming. Megan is an OG.
Yeah.
OG. Like one of probably the first grassroots candidates that we were actively talking to. Probably since like April.
Like one of
Since
the
I
first
first
people we
started
met.
running,
Yeah.
pretty much, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it
Yeah.
feels like it's been like
Around-
over a year.
Yeah, we've been running around TikTok streets together.
Uh-huh.
Roaming these streets, figuring it out. And it's just been a wild ride. So, of course, we were like, Megan, let's go. Come on.
Yeah.
Get on the pod. We need to talk to you. So, Megan is here. But we want to start, as we always do, with the basics. So, we want to know why you're running in this cycle. This one right here.
You know, it's a myriad of reasons. But honestly, I kind of back in 2020 when the Breonna Taylor shootings happened was like my first like step into like politics and activism in the political sphere. And over that time I've been paying more and more attention to things and what's going on. And I'll never forget that I was working at a dealership at the time, working on a car, listening to everything with the inauguration. And I just so happened to turn around and look at my phone at the time that Elon did that salute. And I had already been kind of like thinking about it, because here in Kentucky, especially as a lesbian woman, I have never felt represented by my members of Congress. And then, I saw that and I was like, well, yeah, it's pretty much go time, I think.
That's crazy. You had to watch somebody do the salute and go, yeah, I gotta fix this.
Yeah, that snapped something in everybody. We
Mhm.
were like, "This is the
Yeah.
point of no return." Nope.
Yeah, I thought about it. I teetered it, and I was like, I don't know, man. Running for office, like, can I really like put myself in that sphere? Can I do that? And one of my logical things that kind of put me there was like, well, if Marjorie Taylor Greene can keep getting fucking elected,
It's anyone's bet out there.
Yeah,
yeah,
Literally
no-brainer.
anyone can. And I will say, we love every single one of our grassroots candidates. We love you all equally. You're like our children. We don't have a favorite. But I will say that out of all of the candidates that we've been watching, whenever I think of like who is the activist, when everybody says they're going to fight for you on the front lines, the first person that always pops in my head is you, because you are always there. If there's a protest, you're there, and you are the front line walker in the protest.
yeah.
If there is an event, you are front and center there. If there's a constituent that needs you, you're front and center. I have never seen a candidate just be so immersed in as much as they can with very little time. I mean, we were talking about that before we started recording, that it's not a lot of time to be on a campaign journey where you're not taking APAC money and you can't just like buy whatever you want. So for you to be constantly traveling and being on the front lines, nobody can say that you're not going to fight for them.
Literally.
In that megaphone, and but even though fundraising is really hard and I haven't really raised a lot yet, I see the value in spending time where people are and putting your money where your mouth is. And, when people invite me to things or bring something to my attention, I'm there. And that's, being there for people when they ask you to be is not something that money can buy.
That's literally what people want. They want you to represent them. They literally want you outside in the streets. Like, yes, be with us. We elected you for this position. Come meet us. Come see us. Come be with us. And that's a good transition into the next question. As a congressperson, we switched this question up because we would ask people what they'd be able to do at the local level. So what kind of influence would a congressperson have at the local level? Not so much as like, writing legislation, but being able to, sway things in a certain direction.
Yeah, So I think there's a lot to be said about that, honestly, because especially here in Kentucky, at the most places, like our state legislature, for example, there's a Republican supermajority. And, a lot of towns and stuff that's mostly Republican in their spaces, unless you get to like nonpartisan boards and things like that. But I think you can take, and a good example of that would be with influence, regardless of what level you're sitting at, would be Andy Bashir, right? Because I mean, he's influenced our whole country at this point. But, regardless of what side of the aisle that somebody sits on, when Andy speaks, people listen and they genuinely value his opinion. And I think being able to just to have people's attention and even get them to think for a second is something that more people should be trying to figure out how to bottle and do.
Yes. Yes, because influence is definitely a very strong weapon.
Yeah.
Yes.
1000%.
And knowing how to influence in a red supermajority.
Yeah.
Because if you just go in there guns a-blazing, nobody's going to listen. It's trying to figure out how you can work as a unit, which is so hard to do when there's two very different sides of the aisle. But when it comes down to it, you got to work together.
Yeah.
So you got to meet somewhere in the middle. And I'm sure that's not easy, especially in this administration.
Imagine that it is
No.
at all.
But if
No.
I know anyone would do it, it's you.
Yeah. Yeah. I ruffle a couple of feathers along the way.
Do it. Do it, please.
Yeah. Ruffle those feathers.
I can see it now. You, Alexis, Bernard in there just yelling at people. Kicking doors in.
And it's not that I like, that's what I tell people all the time. It's not that I'm unwilling to hear people out on the other side. It's just there's things that I don't believe that we should compromise on. And
Exactly.
and treating people with dignity and respect is one of those things that we should all not be willing to compromise on, regardless.
It shouldn't be such an outrageous hard line in the sand. Like, oh, you want to treat people as human?
Not on our watch.
You want them to eat and have health care? Wow.
No.
Not on our
Right.
watch.
Not on our watch. No. And when we talk to, obviously every single state is different. There are certain needs in some states that you don't see in others. So we always like to say and ask what this administration has done to Kentucky, how Kentucky's been affected with farmers, universities, hospitals, as a rural area. We're probably already seeing the effects of this administration. What have you seen and what do you think your constituents are most concerned about?
Yeah. So very early on, Kentucky was seeing the effects of the Trump administration. When he first started the tariff wars, started pulling American alcohol off the shelves. And Kentucky produces 90% of the world's bourbon. And a Kentuckian will tell you that the rest of it isn't bourbon. And it's one of our main exports here in Kentucky. So that was already like our bourbon factories and, our farmers were worried and concerned because if we're not selling that outside of Kentucky, then what's that going to do to our economy? And along with the tariffs and the trade war that he's got going on, it's made steel and aluminum more expensive. It's made the machinery for farmers more expensive. It's made the chemicals and pesticides that they need more expensive. And on the other end of that spectrum, I think the last time I looked into it, I think China and Canada are the biggest purchasers of like soybeans and corn from us. And so they're looking at other avenues to buy those things outside of the United States. So that's really affecting farmers also. And then with the cuts that he did to the conservation programs, a lot of farmers signed up for, some of them had done a lot of construction and work to their farms for that conservation efforts. And then to get the funding pulled. And I mean, all you had to do was get on TikTok when that first happened. And you saw all kinds of farmers being like, I don't understand President Trump. Like, how am I going to be able to afford all the renovations?
What about me?
I had some words for Skylar.
Tyler did not get the sympathy he thought he was going to get.
But at our universities, UK back in March was under investigation by the Trump administration's civil rights department for DEI programs. I think not even just universities, but our schools were looking at about 87, I can't remember if it's million or billion, but a large amount of money in funding freezes when
Yep.
they were doing that. And as far as the constituents goes, the biggest conversation, especially in my district, is the big beautiful bill and the cuts to their health care. Kentucky's second district, 30.7% of the population is on Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP
Oof.
benefits. And that is the largest enrollment rate in the state of Kentucky, is right here in my district. So yeah, they're scared. I go into these night with people who have disabled adult children, or, like my mother-in-law, she's an amputee. My wife's grandparents next door, he's a veteran. They're on certain benefits, and everybody's just scared of not being able to eat or go see a doctor. So
Yeah.
Kentucky has disproportionately suffered under the Trump administration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the transparency, we've talked about it before. Back in April, when they were really pushing this big, beautiful bill, and we had Chuck Schumer come out and say, if we don't pass a resolution, we're going to have a government shutdown, which is the last thing that we can do. We're going to vote for it so that we don't have a government shutdown. Like, that is the lesser of two evils in their eyes, but failed. These senators and representatives failed to tell their constituents that this only stops a government shutdown until the end of September. And so now we're at the point where there's another one, and when they drop the resolution today, it only goes until the end of November. So now you have to worry about it again. And every time a resolution happens, more money gets pulled because they're running out of money. So on this resolution, more money is coming out of healthcare and going towards security for lawmakers, because in their mind, it's more important to protect the top than to make sure people in Kentucky are able to get the healthcare that they need. So that transparency too, I'm sure you're seeing people turn around and go, I voted for you to be transparent with me. You're not even telling me what's going to happen.
Well, I can tell you that Brett Guthrie is definitely feeling that heat, because all you have to do is go to his page on Facebook and check the comments section. And no matter what, because he's been going on a district-wide tour just spreading lies to people about this bill and how they're going to be okay and how this is going to be great for Kentucky energy and how it's going to strengthen our rural hospitals, and the people are not buying it. And he's getting Facebook comments.
Does he do town halls? Like, is
I
he
was about to ask the
still
same
running
question.
with that?
I personally have never heard of Brett Guthrie doing a town hall. He'll absolutely go to Republican events.
Of course.
It gets worse every time. Yes.
We held several protests outside of his office. I have talked to his staff at the Bowling Green office so much that they know me.
It's Meg again.
And the last time I got myself banned, actually, so I can't go there anymore.
They said you can't come back here.
Well, yeah, because I was asking
Get her out of here.
all these questions. I was asking the office director all these questions, and he, when we walked away from the protests to go check, and the lobby door was locked. I posted it on my TikTok, and he came outside to talk to us, and then he decided to stop answering our questions, go back inside, and lock the lobby door behind us. So my friend had a megaphone, and I just kind of started taunting the man.
Good.
He was like, police.
Yeah, and got me banned from the property.
Oh my God.
But one of the we talk about halls, he told us that Brett Guthrie was not interested in doing town halls because he had no interest in the political theater of it.
Oh, yeah, the political theater of listening to your constituents and their
of doing your job.
Cool.
It's literally in your job description. Brother, it's in your job description.
Yeah.
You literally have to talk to them.
Oh, it's also love Republican private dinners and all this other stuff.
Where they don't answer questions from constituents.
Yeah, not somewhere where they're actually asking real questions.
No, never.
Unbelievable. Well, you would be a unique politician, so I wanted to ask, do you think, as you being an activist, that politicians should be working together more with activists, because you're literally outside, as the kids say, like you have boots on the ground? Like, I feel like those should be the people that they're seeking out to say, like, okay, what's the pulse? Like, what's going on with the people? What do they need? What are the issues? Like, do you think there should be more of an effort for politicians to be doing that? Seems like a no-brainer.
100%. It is 100% they should be doing that. We should be looking to activists and community leaders, as an elected official to find out what's going on in communities and see what their needs are. And, when I win, kind of would like to just personally myself have it set up to where it's kind of like an advisory board almost,
Right?
all my, because I'm very active in these spaces. I know a
I
lot of people.
love
Yeah. And that bridges the gap when you're not physically here because you're going to be spending a lot of time in DC. So to have, people that are boots on the ground still in Kentucky that can report back to you is essential.
I think that's the best way to go about it, and that's the
that'd
best
be
way to
clutch.
have a good idea of what it is that is going on with your constituents to see what they need in the present moment.
Yeah.
Oh, we gotta get her in. We gotta get you in. We gotta get you
There-
in. Yeah, we got.
there-
The gears are turning. I'm like, she's got to get in. Everybody else needs to follow suit. Have their own advisory board of activists.
Because it's that simple. I mean, every grassroots candidate interview we've done has just been like the Republican wins, and then you never see them again. They run off to DC. They never come back. They never check in. No town halls, no boots on the ground anywhere. And so, to your point, we're starting to see a lot of Republicans turn around and go, no, my health care, my 401k, my SNAP benefits, my veteran benefits, no. Oh, bet I'll go ahead and I'll vote Democrat in the next election. So I know we talked about having to meet people in the middle when it comes to other politicians, but you're in a situation where you need to meet Republicans and moderates in the middle. And do you think it's effective for other Democrats to continue trying to appeal to Republicans and moderates, independents, voters in their,
I may
they are at?
have a different take on that than some other Democrats running, and I think it really depends on where you've grown up and if you're running in a red versus blue state. I grew up in southern Kentucky, very deep rural red place. I grew up in a very conservative family, so it's not hard for me to bridge that gap between a Republican and myself because I grew up with Republicans. I grew up with conservative people. I understand them. And while I vehemently disagree with some of the things that they do and say, I find that when you just sit down and talk to people like they're people and you take out the sensationalism that tends to happen with media spin and you just present information in an honest way that's easy to understand. Something that I saw Andy Bashir say recently was like, can we just go back to talking like humans again? And I agree with that because especially people in the South, they're not interested in you trying to sound profound and eloquent. They just want you to be honest with them and present them the facts in a way that they can understand. And when you just take it from that perspective, you find a lot of the times that we all want the same stuff and we've been purposely divided. And it takes a lot of work to find that middle ground with people. Also disingenuous to say that there's not people that just can't be reasoned with on either side of the aisle. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
But it'll be a long road to get us back as a country of where we're not so divided and at each other's necks. But I don't find it to be impossible.
That was I love the point about what was I just about to say about the communication essentially because that was like the biggest eye opener I had after November. I was like, these people suck at messaging and they speak to everyone as if they have a bachelor's, 2 doctorates, and a master's when really they just want to hear you speak like a regular person. Like they don't need the political theater of it
Mhm.
of trying to say blah 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 when really you can win them over clearly by saying, hey, I'm gonna make your eggs cheap.
Yeah, right.
You're right. It doesn't have to be this big thing. And we also, I mean, some of us are in blue states, some of us are in swing states, red states, but it's like refreshing to talk to somebody deep south, deep red state, say, I still have profound conversations with people on the other side of the aisle who want the same things, because I think that's the issue, is that there's so much tension that one side thinks that the other is, domestic terrorists,
Yeah.
and the other side thinks that, they just want to murder people, and we don't see each other as humans anymore. There's no human
Mhm.
aspect to it. So when you ask somebody probably from a blue state what they think people in Kentucky are like, they're probably going to tell you that they're probably have a ton of guns and they just want to shoot, and but they don't think of them as actual people who need healthcare, who, are veterans that have served our country that deserve the benefits of what happens after you serve our country. That there's just people that want their children to go to school and, you know, be safe. It's just the routes to get there that are very different.
You know, the South as a whole in our country, especially, and this is conversations that I've had over and over again, is that we are very stigmatized. And there are, of course, some truths behind some of those things. But the South is not a monolith.
Right.
Kentucky is not a monolith. There are just
Right.
as many, just like me, in Kentucky. And, we are a proud people. Never met somebody from Kentucky who is not extremely loud and proud to be from Kentucky.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And that's a big motivator for me too, is that I want to kind of show everybody on a national stage that we Kentuckians are so much more than what they think we are.
Yeah, what you're painted
Yeah.
as.
Yeah. Well, what are your top 3 priorities when you get in there?
First of all, I would say one of my top 3 priorities would be just to get us back to a stable place,
Mhm.
uh, because there is so much instability and there is just so much tension. I would love to see us be able to get back to a place to where politics is almost boring again. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like, and not everybody sitting on the edge of their seat watching committee hearings, wondering if they're about to get fucked over.
Yeah,
Pretty
right?
tired of that.
Yeah,
Pretty tired of having to live stream every House floor session
yeah.
start to finish because you don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, we'll be pushing very hard to ensure that everybody's civil liberties and civil rights are there, strong, can't be messed with, because that's something that I preach constantly. Is that this nation is meant to be equitable and just for everyone. And that includes trans people, that includes gay people, that includes people of color, that includes everyone, our immigrant neighbors, everybody. And universal health care probably would be on my top priority list because it's a real issue. It's a real issue in our country and it's a human right. So, I mean, that's definitely on my first top 3. Let's get this done.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I'm here for it.
It's crazy that it's that simple, you know? That's how far we veered off. It's like, people they would just like, some stability. Yes, speaking from us who feel like we have to, give the news to people. It would be nice to not have to watch every single floor session in the background of like work and living your
Yeah.
life. Like before, you just kind of looked at the news the next day and saw what happened, or you might have never heard what happened because it wasn't really that big of a deal. Now everything has something hidden under it, and we're like, is this a test? Is this a distraction?
Yeah.
It would
And they're
just be
doing it
nice
at
to
wee
have some
hours of the
stability.
fucking morning. Everybody's asleep.
Cowardly. Such cowards.
Just like as simple as, yes, can we just have that part of life back where we don't need to be glued to our phones and TV screens to make sure we don't miss something
Mhm.
big?
Like,
That's just the most simple thing, but is the most needed. It's the most
just
essential.
leave us alone.
Yeah.
Leave us alone.
Can my people in Kentucky just enjoy their life for a minute and like,
Yeah.
can we just figure
Not
out
have
how
to
to fix
worry if
this?
they're gonna, not have healthcare and die. Like,
Mhm.
Ideally, that would be great.
I think
I
we're
would
Yeah,
asking for too much.
it's
work, and their biggest problem be being at fucking work.
yes, and coming home from work and
Yeah.
cooking and getting the kids ready for bed and not having to listen to live streams of briefings in the background all day. It's just it's a lot. And so I think that's what most people want is just stability. And yes, healthcare. I really don't understand where that went flying off the rails, and it's a never-ending train ride to the ground, and we're 9 months in. So
Yeah.
people really need to vote knowing who's going to
Exactly.
take care of them.
I mean, really, it has with this current administration. People were already struggling as it was between having to choose if they wanted to miss a day of work and go to the doctor and be able to pay their bills. 65% of all bankruptcies in this country are filed due to medical debt, myself being one of them. And not even just a couple of years ago, I filed bankruptcy because I was like tens of thousands of dollars in medical debt, and there was no way I would have ever been able to pay it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And nobody should have to do that, especially not people who are like 26, 27 years old.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just
Point blank. Period.
we should not have to decide to, you know, go to the ER or die.
Yeah,
And
really.
in Kentucky, in a rural place where they're already gonna start shutting down hospitals prior to I mean, everybody says this big, beautiful bill isn't gonna take effect until, you know, 2026 through 2028. Well, no, there's preemptive things that happen, and in very rural areas, preemptively, they just start closing down hospitals, and also a lot of people that work in healthcare in Kentucky go, "I'm not gonna stay here and, see if my job's still there tomorrow. I'm gonna try to move and go to a bigger state where
Yeah.
this might not take effect right away." So, yes, to your point, they feel the effects right away, and it's
Mhm.
Immediately.
not good.
I remember Nebraska was going to shut down one the next day after it
Yeah.
passed. The
Yeah.
Nebraska hospital was like, well, we're going to have to close our doors.
And Kentucky there's 35 rural hospitals that are at risk of closure, and it's some of the largest number in the country.
Mhm.
So, again, we're just disproportionately affected by this administration. Even just, and I think it's influenced state legislatures a little bit too, because I recently was talking to this woman. She's a mother of a disabled adult. The Kentucky state legislature is considering doing away with like paid parent or family caregivers. And that's a lot of people do that because
Yeah,
sometimes it's a full-time job to take
it
care of
is.
disabled family members, and if you aren't getting paid to do that, how are you gonna be able to pay your bills because you can't get a job and you can't afford to pay somebody to take care of them so you can get a job, and so that's another thing that recently that I hadn't personally thought of that through that conversation is just another thing up here that I plan to take to Washington with me and address.
That's bad.
Yeah.
That's so bad. Wow.
Kentucky, you need to vote smart.
Oh my God.
Vote smart. And speaking of voting, a lot of people after this past election and seeing the effects are not even sure if their votes matter anymore. Like that we are that far corrupt that they don't even want to participate in voting. So, what would you say to somebody in Kentucky who is feeling this way and doesn't know if they're going to show up to the primaries and vote?
I would say that I understand that feeling
Mm.
because I, for a long time, have felt like my vote didn't matter in Kentucky. But the thing about it is, though, if more people got out to vote, most likely wouldn't even be in the situation to begin with. I full heartedly believe that Kentucky would be more purple, possibly even blue, if more people got out and voted. Voter turnout in Kentucky, especially when it's not a presidential election, it's just not that great. And if I encourage you to get out and vote, and I encourage you to shame your friends and family that don't want to vote, and
Thank
pressure
them.
That.
something. Well, when I give and I talk in public is that when I'm asking them for their vote, I'm not just asking them to choose me, I'm asking them to choose themselves
Yeah.
and choose their neighbors and their family. Because yes, we can get out, we can protest, we can do all these things, we can hold rallies, but at the end of the day, the change starts at the polls. So just
And
do
yeah, we don't want to hear your complaints about how things are changing if you're not voting.
it.
And we are seeing every day, people are realizing that they literally voted for their own demise.
Mhm. It's a
That's
hard
another reason.
pill to swallow.
Yeah,
Hey, elections have consequences.
they do. And it's really amazing to me how if it's not a presidential election, people just don't care.
Yup.
Mhm.
The president is really like, I mean, Not this one, but the president is really kind of irrelevant when it comes
Yeah,
to your everyday life, you know?
it is.
Yeah.
I think people needed a crash course on, the three branches of government and who actually controls what, which is why we're doing this and interviewing people who are running for all different forms of office, local, federal, all of it, because we want everybody to understand that it matters who the president is, yes, but who is really driving the train into the ground is not just the president. If you start at the bottom and you let it be corrupt from the bottom, that's how we get to where we are today. And so people need to start showing up and voting in their local elections because that's where they'll see the change much faster
Absolutely.
too. And that's why we wanted to ask you today and start asking people like what Congress people do on the local level, because I think a lot of people just go, oh, but they go to DC and they just care about the big picture. They
Yeah.
still represent you.
Yeah, they do. And a lot of people realize that your members of Congress also have constituent services.
Hmm.
Uh, and they can help you with things like if you're struggling with a federal agency or you need to have them conduct some sort of oversight on something. I think I read something earlier that they can even help you out if you're having issues with like late tax returns
Yep.
and filing, immigration paperwork and things like that. So your members of Congress, yes, they go and they fight for you in DC. But or things they can do for you right here at home. And also, sometimes the best thing that they can do is just sit down and listen to what you have to say
Right?
and don't. But they do.
They don't. They're just again, that's why I love your idea of having an advisory board, because you want people to continue to vote for you and not think that you got the votes, you won, you went to DC and you got to run around, frolic around and have a good time. Things change on a day-to-day basis. Things that might have affected Kentucky 5 years ago are different now. Different
Mhm.
things come into play. So, if you're not there, you need people there to tell you like, "Hey, this is an issue. This happened. We're seeing police like say, police start to utilize too much force and you're not physically there seeing it. You need somebody to step up and say, "Hey, we're watching, some violence that we've never seen here before that is slipping through the cracks." We don't see that. So then a lot of times in these town halls, you'll hear them say, "Oh, I didn't know that was happening. Oh, I didn't
They're
know that was happening. Nobody told me."
so out of touch with their districts. And I've already tried
Uh-huh.
to, along the campaign trail, I've already tried to foster an environment to where people feel like they can come to me with their problems.
Uh-huh.
And I've had people who live in my district come to me with just everyday things. I've met some of them in real life, not even at campaign events. They just happen to see that I'm like going out to the local drag show or something, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's crazy that you're here!" Like I'm always
Dang.
here. I had one of my constituents message me about a problem with their car, because I'm a mechanic, so I've really tried to foster this environment to where they feel like they can come to me with everyday problems and
Right.
try to offer them solutions. So I hope that that will shine through on the
Ooh,
way.
yeah.
I'm hoping the people in Kentucky are like, not only do we actually need to go out and vote, but we need to go out and vote for Megan.
Yeah.
There just
Yeah.
needs to be a consensus amongst everyone in Kentucky.
Like we're voting
We're
for
voting for
Megan,
Megan. We're
period.
showing up. This is the day of the election. We show up, we vote, and we vote for Megan. And then everything will be
Period.
okay.
Yeah.
Period. Full stop.
I hope
Speaking of voting for Megan, we're at the fun portion. I think I know the answer. There's a correct answer, and if it's not, I'm telling. So, if you were running for president, who would your VP be, living or dead?
it's funny that you guys have this as a question. Alexis and I act that we're going to run together in 2032, and I think we're mostly joking. But if I were to ever run for president, I absolutely would want Alexis Claiborne by my side.
That was the correct answer.
That was the correct answer because Alexis is off to the side. I'm just kidding. She's right here waiting for your
Alexis,
answer.
she didn't say you.
We asked Alexis and we were like, "Oh, I don't know. I don't know what Alexis is gonna say." And then she threw the curveball of Megan. We were like, Oh,
She's
wait,
like, Meg, and we're like,
wait, that's perfect. It all makes so much sense. And so we were like, but we're gonna have Megan on soon. So we didn't tell her. We were like, let's see what Megan says.
yeah, we're like, this
That's
is the
great.
gotcha question.
This is the gotcha question. Actually, it's somebody else. And Alexis is like,
Boo.
Alexis comes on to change her answer.
I
But it
had to-
works. If you know Megan and you know Alexis, like you just listen to the 2 interviews, it'll all make sense.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't think that, like, because people have seen us interact on TikTok and they've seen us be together in New Orleans, but I don't think people really understand how good of friends we actually are. Like, me and Alexis talk every day about a myriad of things,
I
and
bet.
Mhm.
she's just as passionate as I am, and I just know we'd be unstoppable.
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you're definitely some like the strongest personalities out there
Mhm.
for sure.
People would be in fear.
Uh, yeah, Meg with the
I just
megaphone,
I just
Alexis
know,
instigating.
yeah, Mike Johnson would be anytime that the door creaked open, he'd be like,
And you just see a foot. You just see the megaphone.
the microphone. And
Stop right
Turkey's like,
there.
ah, we gotta run.
Yeah,
That was the correct answer.
love
And
it.
we love a would you rather, right? I
Yeah.
love a would you rather. Well, this is a hard one. I don't know about this one. I don't know what you're gonna pick on this one. But
No.
would you rather have a staring contest with Cash Patel? I'm talking full, no blinking staring contest. Or listen to RFK Jr. talk for 2 minutes and try not to laugh.
I would have to have a staring contest with Cash because I cannot listen to and not laugh at him because the things that he says are demonstrably false, and I just help but laugh in disbelief in the shit that he says. It's like,
Every time they have their hearings, these senators are just eating him up. And I don't know how they're not all just sitting there laughing at the response. Like they're actually heated because I'm sure they're like, this is just ridiculous. But if I was there, I'd bust out laughing at every answer he
When
gave me.
he
Yeah.
asked Raphael Warnock if he was part of the assassination on Trump, I almost fell out of my chair. I was like, no fucking way he just said that. And like, the answer had nothing to do with what he said, not even close. I think he asked, he was like, do you, something vaccinations?
Yeah,
And he was like, were you part of the assassination on President Trump? I was like,
You know,
no,
Hey,
this isn't real.
themselves, they have no one to blame but themselves because they're the ones who confirmed him. So, they get to spend the next 4 years or however long listening to his dribble, and
Yeah.
I love him.
I have a spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet for who was confirming people, and I was just like, ooh, just you guys wait
Megan will
until
be
we
there with
have
a
our
megaphone,
midterm
like,
catalog.
wrong answer. Stop talking. This is my time.
It was like, ooh,
I'm
just wait
reclaiming my time.
when we put this spreadsheet and this catalog out, you guys are done.
Man.
Yeah, you guys are done. And yes, the staring contest with Cash Patel. He's still around by the time you're in there,
No,
but he's kind
doesn't
of
seem long
scary
for
to
it.
look in his eyes.
That deer in the headlights look is a little like,
Well, unsettling. It's a little unsettling. So I'm like, it's a hard it's a hard one to pick. That was a really hard would you rather. I don't know what I'd want. I just know what I'd fail at, and I'd fail at both of them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Probably have to go with the cash one.
Cash. Yeah.
Well, we always end off asking everyone what would be your gem in Kentucky, like the selling point, like this is my spot.
So actually, um, there is a portion of the creek in Warren County where I grew up, a half a mile down the road from. And in Bowling Green, there's never really been things to do for teenagers. And so those of us who lived right out there by the creek, and even, most teenagers in town, it was called the Triangle. If you know, you know. we would go out there, we'd ride our four-wheelers up and down the road, we'd walk down there and just hang out after school and during summer times. And it's a beautiful little spot. It's really relaxing to just sit
Nice.
there and listen to the creek go by you. And when I think of home, that's the area that I think about. I've
Nostalgia.
taken many people out there and been like, look how beautiful this is, because Kentucky is a beautiful place. I encourage more people to come see it.
Yeah, we'll be up there when you win.
We're
We'll go on
tour.
There we go. Yeah.
We're gonna go on
We
tour.
should. We should
See
take the
everybody.
podcast on tour. A tour of all
Yep.
hidden gems. That would be
Ooh.
something.
Would be
It would
something.
be.
This
But
is why we're
Megan-
making a catalog.
No, this is honestly so we can go on tour and see all of these places that we haven't seen, because I've never been to Kentucky, and I've been to
Yeah.
almost every state in
Wow.
the U.S. I just have not been to Kentucky, so now is my reason.
Well, if you do, you got to come to Mammoth Cave. It is actually the longest cave system in the world, and it
Wow.
spans the majority of Kentucky.
Damn.
Yeah, Kentucky is home to the longest cave system in the world. Mammoth Cave
I
is
didn't know that.
so long that there are portions of it that have yet to be even explored.
That's crazy.
Quite the sight to see. Yeah.
That's crazy. I had no clue there was caves.
Throw a rock and stumble on a cave in Kentucky.
Okay. All right. We're going
Right.
in some caves.
Yeah, we're gonna venture out and do some like travel section of our podcast. There's politics and travel.
A vlog. I'm just
We
gonna be
become a
vlogging.
travel channel with politics, with the side of politics. But Megan, we want to thank you for finally coming on the podcast. It is not the last time that you are going to be on this podcast. Trust. We know the outcome next year. We're already calling it. I said we have to have like NASCAR jackets with all of your names on them.
Just patches
I love that.
all over it.
Patches all over us. And then we have to throw a huge celebration party
I love it.
at the Capitol. It
In
just
the Capitol.
whole bu-
Right
On
on the
floor.
right on the floor. The Capitol.
Yes.
A celebratory party. Nobody can crash the party. If they take APAC money, they're not allowed.
That's a
whole celebration, because it just feels like a long time coming. We've rode this wave, especially just on TikTok, just a wave of BS. It's been insane. So speaking of TikTok and everything that's happening, we want to give you the floor to just shameless plug all of your socials, all of them, because you never know what's going to happen with TikTok. And if you have any events coming up, just go ahead, shameless plug away.
Yeah, so on Instagram and TikTok, it's Wingfield for Congress. Facebook is Megan Wingfield for Congress. And you can go check me out at meganwingfieldforcongress.com. And the biggest plug that I can give right now is, honestly, I need donations because I'm trying to put on a drag show in October as a fundraiser here in Bowling Green, just to bring some, because that's when we do our Pride in October. And so I'm trying to bring some queer joy in a really big way. And I'm trying to bring a really big drag queen to Bowling Green, but I need money for the deposit. So if you can, please go to my Blue and donate. Everything helps.
Yes.
That'd be sick.
Go donate. Go donate. And
Give her your
leave in the
money.
comments which drag queen you want to see. If you have any requests, donate the money and leave a request.
And you'll see.
See? It's fun. Then you'll see. It'll be like who's gonna show up?
Me.
And I tell you guys go out every day, you buy your coffees. Some of you donate to the DNC. I know you do. And it's really time to start looking inward and thinking, oh, I could save up, $5 a week, say, and every month donate $20 to a grassroots candidate. You might think it's nothing, but if a lot of us are
It's
all
something.
doing it all adds up very quickly. And anything helps when you're a grassroots candidate. We know that, and that's why we're doing this. So if you could do that, if you see Megan on live, go on live, give some gifts, hype her up. If you live in Kentucky, just showing up to any event that Megan's at and hyping her up. Just anything, but definitely with grassroots candidates, really think about donating and doing what you can for them, because they are not nepo babies of politics with a lot of money. And they
Campaigns
don't
are
care
expensive.
about you. actually care. They are one of us.
Literally.
One of us. And so we should be helping our neighbors in our community. And that's what we group in grassroots candidates. They are your community, they are your people. And so, yes, if you have some money to spare, definitely go and support Megan. Let's get an amazing drag queen out to Kentucky and celebrate Pride. That sounds like
Great.
great. That's what we need right now. We need just some fun, some pride, and some happiness.
Yeah. Fun feels illegal right now.
It does. It does. So that is all great. Thank you guys for tuning in every Thursday to a grassroots candidate interview. It's racking up. We've got a great catalog already. So make sure you're going back in and checking out any episodes you missed. And we will be back every single Thursday with a new grassroots candidate interview. Leave in the comments who you'd like to see coming on next. And thank you again, Megan, for joining us this week.
Thanks for having me.
Bye, everyone. Have a great night.
Peace, kids.